Well, good morning. Good to see you. Hope you're well. I'm back in church. As a family, we finished our 10 days isolation yesterday. Fortunately, we're all fine. There was obviously lots of, I think I mentioned last week or the week before, lots of conflicting advice, but we've followed the most, I guess, conservative way forward. We've had 10 days isolated and we're all good. And the lad that we were in contact with who tested positive for COVID, he's good, he's fine, he's been quite unwell with it, but he's okay and he's back in school today. So it's great to be back in the building, in the office. Remember last week I stuffed it up and I got all of it wrong and not put videos up or put up the same video, but we've been looking through, carry on with the book, been looking through how will God speak to me. So it's from page 143 to 154. I asked last week if anyone had any questions or anything to ask me about, and no one's come back to me. So I'm here going, well, are you happy with what you've read? And I'll say hello to you tonight on the Zoom. We can chat it through then. And it was like, well, okay, well, what do I share with you? Again, I don't babble on about this. How does God speak to us? He speaks to us in loads of different ways. And prophecy happens in different ways. And there's the whole thing about just God putting us in positions and in situations that are essentially preordained, pre-planned by him. And I just want to give you a really quick example. This story hasn't been shared before publicly like this. But as you know, Life Dronfield CIO is a charity that I'm heavily involved with. I'm now the chairperson of it. Became the chair in the past week or two. And I love it. And I'm passionate about the charity. But we've got to a position where we have basically needed some money. We've got half the money to buy the halls. We need the other half of the money. And we've been praying about this. Anyhow, cut a long story short, 2 weeks ago, so before we went into lockdown, me and Bex went out for a coffee with our friend Amy, who was up from London. We went out for a coffee and we were going to go into Dronfield, but just kept driving for some reason. We were chatting in the car and realised I was out past Holmesfield. So it was like, might as well just go to Bakewell and get a coffee and a bit of cake, Bakewell pudding or something in Bakewell. We'll go there. So halfway there, and Bex turns to me and says, well, where are we going? And I was like, well, we were going to Dronfield, but to like Coffee Central or the barn or somewhere, but actually we're going to Bakewell now. And Bex was like, well, can we go to Hassop Station? Now, I know a lot of you will know Hassop Station. If you're not local and you don't, it's a great place. If you're ever up in the Peak District, go there. Lovely food, really good coffee, lovely place. So we pulled up at Hassop Station and we got out the car and we went to sit down at a table. And I just felt really strongly, I shouldn't sit here. I'm going to sit outside because it was in a covered area. So went outside, sat down, and then it was like, we'll sit here. Oh no, there's children's play area. No, we're going to sit over in this. When I sat in a place that I'd never sit, it was on essentially a walkway, and there were bins and wasps and flies. Like, it wasn't the best, probably the worst table to sit in the whole place outside. But we went and sat there, and as we sat down, I heard a couple talking about church stuff and God stuff. Now, I think that doorbell, I think there's someone in the building already to get that. If there's not, I wonder if we can go and get it if it rings again. But we sat there, and as we sat down, I heard this couple talking about God stuff. And they were talking about how to do stuff as churches instead of one type of church or just a Baptist, one denominational, or an Anglican or a Methodist or an independent, just doing stuff together. And I just felt God just say to me, and I know that's my personality. I talk a lot and I chat a lot, but I just felt God say, speak in, say something. So I was just like, guys, just call it ecumenical, which means the church word for everyone, or just say for all Christians. And this couple turned around, they were like, yeah, that's it, thank you. Who are you? What do you do? And we got chatting, and then they were like, come and chat to us. And it turns out that they're involved with a thing called a filling station in Sheffield. There's 3 of them involved with it. And I'd spoken on the Tuesday to the other guy involved with it. And it was like, what are the coincidences? What are the chances of that? I've spoken to someone on Tuesday, it was on Tuesday, about this thing. And then the other 2 people I meet totally out of Dronfield, out of Sheffield, away from town, in a random coffee shop that's got nothing to do with church. And we weren't even going to go there. And actually, it turns out this couple weren't even going to go there. They were walking past and they were about to, they just like, oh, we might as well get a coffee. And they were just about to go. And just as they were about to go, we turned up and I interrupted their conversation. Now, conversations have happened from that. We've met and we chatted and we've met and we've prayed. And I'm not in a position at the moment to tell you what has come from that, but amazing things have come from that. For the Life Project, I can't say what, but you'll find out in the next 2 or 3 months. Amazing things have come from it. And I've spoken to this guy, he's called Matthew, and his wife Catherine. I've spoken to Matthew a few times now, and God's using that conversation and that discussion and that meeting of us to do mad stuff, crazy, brilliant, amazing, fantastic stuff. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I know God's got it. But God, my point is, God was in that situation. God made me drive through Dronfield and not stop at Coffee Central. God made me decide to drive to Bakewell, and then made Becca decide actually we should go to Haslam Station. The chances of us meeting are too remote for it to be coincidental. Chances are too remote. It's a God sequence. It's a God thing. And I know this isn't specifically about prophecy, but I want to encourage you that God is working and God is doing stuff, and he wants us just to be part of it. And had I prayed that morning that God, you allow me to meet someone? No. All I'd prayed was, God, you